Right, okay, a very warm welcome, everybody. So today what we're doing is we're talking about how to write a bestseller. It's very exciting because obviously, it's something that, we can all do it. It's not some mysterious, arcane thing that can only happen to certain people if they're particularly good at writing. You don't even have to be particularly good at writing in order to write a bestseller. E.L. James comes to mind from 50 Shades of Grey, for example, and even Dan Brown, who wrote that series of books. He's not what you'd call a brilliant, incisive writer. He hasn't written the great American novel or anything like that, but my goodness, his books sold in the millions. And then you have got great writers. I mean, I would add obviously J.K. Rowling into that, but then again, you've got other writers. Some of the most successful writers ever, for example, Enid Blyton. A lot of people criticize her writing and say, oh, it's not really suitable for children for so many reasons. I mean, obviously, the violence and racism aside, just putting that to one side for a moment, but actually her sentence structure, her grammar, and so on and so forth. So, it's writing bestsellers is not all about being the perfect writer. So let's crack on and here we go. Right, so just make sure that we're doing this. So as Mark Twain said, writing is actually easy. All you have to do is cross out the wrong words, which is actually, it sounds flippant, but actually it's very, very true. A lot of what he wrote is very, very true, of course. Brilliant observer of the human condition. And the point actually that he's making is that the art of writing is editing. And we'll come on to that a little bit later on, but I wanted to put that up front so that we take the scary factor out of everything we're doing today. So what we're covering today, you'll be glad to know, is what is a bestseller really? What does it mean? People say, oh yeah, this is a bestseller. What does that actually mean? Because there are some really scammy sort of things going on and some actually really genuine things going on. So what we need to know is what defines a bestseller? And more importantly, what does it do for you? That's really important. Okay, so we'll come on to that. We're going to talk about what to write, whether you should be looking at blogs, books, articles, or something else entirely. We'll be talking about how to actually get started. And I'm going to take a deep dive today into the nitty-gritty of actually writing, what the process is, the way to get yourself set up so you know exactly how your framework works, how to manage your time, how to actually not get stuck halfway along, the process and just give it all up. So we'll talk about how to keep accountable, how to avoid burnout, very easy when you're a writer, how to stay creative and focused, how to stay motivated, and what if it all goes horribly wrong, what do you do then? Because it will go horribly wrong at certain points, and it happens. So, we don't need to worry about that because I've got strategies for you. And then finally, building a platform to promote your book. Now, I have to say about the platform side of things, there are people out there like Michael Hyatt, for example, who is really the platform building guy. And he sells year-long courses on growing and building a platform. So obviously what I can tell you at the end of this is a snippet, but if you're interested in learning more about platform growth, I'm more than happy to do a follow-up broadcast to this one, where we can actually take a deep dive into growing your platform, so other platform growing strategies. You're probably thinking, so what exactly is a platform? A platform is anything that allows you and positions you as the expert. It's publicity, it's social media, it's media coverage, it's getting into magazines and newspapers, it's all of those sorts of things. A platform is where you are an established expert and people look to you for commentary on your field. Now, before anybody says to me, oh, but there are so many people out there, I'm not the expert, there are loads and loads of people. Sorry, I keep fiddling with my scarf because when we started, Roberta said to me, she said, are you wearing anything underneath that scarf? I said, yes, I am. I'm wearing a fawn-coloured jumper. And she said, it looks as though you're not wearing anything. So So I'm not flashing you, but if you see me fiddling with my scarf, you know what's going on. I'm just slightly paranoid about my clothing choices today. And the funny thing is, in real life, it looks okay, but when you get onto camera, colors actually change dramatically. I always remember when I was on the Wright stuff, and Matthew Wright was wearing this absolutely exquisite, very, very, very deep indigo suit. And I was in absolute awe of this color. It was so lush. Anyway, I was saying to everybody, I said, don't look at me. I said, look at Matthew's suit when the program came out. And people saying, yes, just a navy suit. What's the big deal? So it just goes to show colors really, really change. So do excuse me, I am fully clothed. In fact, I've got a really, really hot sweater on. So just in case you were wondering. Right, okay, so going back to platforms are really, really crucial. It is the most important thing in actually getting your book out, but we'll come on to that. So let's move forward. So here's the thing. There's an awful lot of books out there. There's so many books, so little time. And probably most of us have got libraries like this. Put your hand, give me a thumbs up if you have many, many, many books. Yes, many, many. Yeah, you should see this office and the office in Berkshire. It's ridiculous. And my place as well. It's just heaving with books. I could actually build. In fact, I think this might actually be a picture from the place in Paris on the left bank, the Shakespeare bookshop. If anybody's been there, give me a thumbs up as well, because it's an absolutely extraordinary place. It looks like this, and they kind of built it out of books. So first of all, what is a bestseller? Let's just cut to the chase. A bestseller is a book, obviously, that goes to the top of the charts. But what are the charts? You've got things like the Times bestseller list. You've got the New York Times bestseller list, and so on. So you've got the big newspaper bestseller lists. Those look at books that have sold very well over quite a long period of time. Whereas you've also got things like Amazon bestsellers. Amazon has bestsellers in different categories, for example. So my latest book, which is this one, Rewind Your Body Clock, that was actually put into by the publishers aging and health and well-being. And it went straight in at #1 in aging and #1 in health and well-being. But more importantly, Amazon has a chart called Movers and Shakers, our biggest gainers in sales rank over the past 24 hours. It's updated hourly. And as you can see here at #1, Rewind Your Body Clock got up to the top of the charts and stayed there for a good few days. In fact, it then fell off the top of the charts because the book had actually sold out within 2 hours. So they were still working on the basis of pre-orders. So people were able to actually, place their orders. But what made that happen? Well, I built a platform, which I'm going to come onto obviously, but also other things happened, like massive publicity. So the Daily Mail, we love them for this reason, but other reasons obviously maybe not so much, but they serialized the book twice. And so I'm going to be telling you about how to get serialization in the newspapers and so on, of course, obviously. But, that obviously helped raise the profile of the book. Plus, I had done a huge amount of pre-publication legwork. It's not just a case, when you write a book, it's not just a case of writing a book. You've then got to get on the case as far as sales are concerned. That's the way that you actually get your book to get out there and be seen. So that hopefully tells you a lot of what is helpful. Now, the problem is that there have been situations, for example, where a particular author took a picture of his foot, he put it onto the front cover of a book, and then he told all his friends to go and buy the book, and he put it into a really obscure category. And because it was in such an obscure category with not much competition in there, this book that basically had nothing in it at all other than a picture of his foot on the front cover became a #1. It became a #1 ranked book on Amazon because of the obscurity and because of the velocity of people actually buying it. I think he made it sort of like a penny, so his friends didn't have to spend huge amounts of money on this non-existent book. But it just goes to show it can be gamed. The situation can be gamed. So, obviously we don't want to do that. We want to have a legitimate book that gets right up there, right at the very, very top of the charts. My other books, so I've got them over there. Survivor's Guide to Bird Flu, Survivor's Guide to Swine Flu, and Complementary and Alternative Health, the scientific verdict on what really works, that I edited for Collins, they all were #1 bestsellers as well. So I know whereof I speak. So why was this book interesting? As you can see, my friend Suzanne took a lovely picture of the book and posted it on social media. So I nicked the picture because she's a photographer and I'm not. And so she takes good pictures and I don't. But she captured the sparkliness of the book. And I was really pleased that Watkins and Penguin decided to actually make the book stand out on the shelf. So it immediately drew attention. So again, it's, this is another thing. It's actually, again, beyond the scope of this particular tutorial, but I did back in November do a tutorial for you on how to create ebooks, and ebooks are just as valid. So for example, Survivor's Guide to Swine Flu, I've actually turned into an ebook, and that keeps going up to the top of the charts in contagious diseases. So yeah, it's a niche, but it keeps going, keeps getting up to #1 again, because people do still buy the book. And that's something else that you need to know. Even if you've got a book that came out several years ago, go back to marketing it. Even if you think it's obsolete, it really doesn't matter. You might even be able to say, if you've got a real world book, a paperback, for example, you can actually get it changed into an ebook that you can stick up on Amazon or any of the other booksellers. And my book is on all of the booksellers, not just Amazon. I tend to use the word Amazon as almost shorthand for online booksellers. It's a bit like a Hoover, isn't it? Is the ubiquitous term for a vacuum cleaner, or a biro is what we call a ballpoint pen. So we say Amazon, but I'm actually talking about, and obviously I've got issues with Amazon, as I'm sure you do as well, for all sorts of different reasons, tax avoidance. Yeah, so the point is that you can actually make ebooks, and you can get them to keep performing by putting them online, and actually making sure that you've got people know about it. You can do flash sales and things like that. You've got a lot more control. And what I like about the online platforms, if you've got ebooks, is you can set your price. But I don't want to go too much into ebooks. As I say, I made a really nice tutorial for you on how to create ebooks. That's over on the Complementary Medical Association YouTube channel. So if you are interested, you can go back and take a look at that. Okay, so yeah, so there we go, and that's just to show you that was another screen grab from when you actually look at you go to the book on Amazon in this case, and there it was, again, still up at #1 and continues to be off and on. In fact, it's just sold out again. The book went into translation and has become #1 in Mexico and Spain, and also became the #1 audiobook as well in its category. So what are writers? Who are writers? Wherefore are they? A writer isn't just someone who writes books. It's anybody who has things to tell. I love that. If you've got things to tell, and I know you have, then you're a writer. You've just got to actually do the writing. So what should you write? Well, obviously you've got lots and lots of choices. That disappeared. There we go, it's back. Okay, I've got a dodgy mouse. I dropped my mouse yesterday and it's really iffy, so I hope we're going to be okay. Should you be writing books? Should you be looking at standard publishing or self-publishing? Or should you be looking at ebooks? Which platforms can you choose? There's a lot of choice out there. So standard publishing is where you go through a normal publisher, and your publisher is, they're out there. Usually most publishers require you to go through an agent, because otherwise, as you can imagine, they'd be overwhelmed by every Tom, Dick and Harry and their dog who says, I've got a book. So they like to try to control things by dealing with an agent. First and foremost. And agents are quite useful if you get a good agent. They're quite useful because they act as the gatekeeper. So you don't have to get into uncomfortable or slightly tacky negotiations over your contract with the publisher. The agent does all of that, and they, it's like good cop, bad cop, and they can be bad cop. And you just waft in and say, oh yes, well, I'm the writer, I'm the talent, and the agent's just there in the trenches fighting on your behalf. Because of course your agent gets 20 or 30% of your book sales. So, and anything else that, serializations, for example, in the Daily Mail, or audiobook fees, that sort of thing, or anything else. You see, the thing is, you write a book, and then you can be paid to do all sorts of other things. So this is, it's the money doesn't just come from writing books. It also comes from giving talks. It comes from, it's all about your platform and building a platform. So you write a book, it's a fantastic calling card. You'll then find that you'll be invited to speak here, there, or wherever, which you will be paid for. You'll be expected to do television or radio performances. Depending on, if it's just simply plugging your book, you probably won't be paid to do it. If, however, they want you as an expert, you will be paid to do it. So, books really establish you as the expert. So this is another reason why books are lucrative and important. So this is why I really do want to encourage you to actually really get on message with this whole system and this whole thing. So sorry, I've got something in my eye here, and it's really, really bothering me. Sorry. I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, so I'm just going to fiddle with my eye while I speak to you. God, I don't know what's going on here. So standard publishing is good, but you're not going to make any money at it unless you're J.K. Rowling. And it's very interesting because, of course, don't forget Penguin turned down J.K. Rowling, didn't they? I bet they're really upset by that. Unless you are a J.K. Rowling and you're selling millions of books, you're not going to really make very much money out of the book. However, as I say, it's all of the other things that are attached to having a real world book. That's where the advantages lie. So for me, for example, I can, if somebody's running a conference, I can have one of my team contact the conference runners and say, oh, we've got best-selling author Jayney Goddard, and you really ought to have her as one of your keynote speakers. And so, they go, oh, wow, yeah, okay, oh gosh, yes, all right. So, and it's very impressive, it's very, very impressive if you've got a book, and it opens doors for you. So those are the advantages. When you write a normal book, you get an advance from your publisher. So you get several £1,000s, sent to you, which is really rather nice. But it's not yours to keep because, generally speaking, most publishers' contracts will say that you don't get any more money from them until you outsell your advance, which means that if you've got an advance of £10,000 or £25,000, for example, you won't actually see any extra royalties until you've out-earned the advance. Now, if, for example, your book didn't sell and out-earn the advance, then you may be liable to pay that money back to the publisher, or a portion of it. Now, in practice, that doesn't really happen that often, okay? Because most publishers know pretty much, it's their business, they know pretty much how many books are going to sell. But having said that, there are always weird things where books sell a lot and weird situations where they don't sell anything at all. Did you know, for example, the average paperback that is published sells between 250 copies and 2,000 copies throughout its lifetime? Paltry, isn't it? I bet you're surprised. I have to say I was very surprised. I was surprised that it was that low. My book's been, my recent one, Rewind Your Body Clock, has been going great guns. So, it's sold, well over 10,000, probably about 20,000 copies now, I believe. So, it's really, really going. It's very surprising how low book sales actually are. Just a piece of trivia for you that you can impress your friends with next time we're all allowed to have dinner together. And what about ebooks? So sorry, that's standard publishing. What about self-publishing? It's a different model, of course. It means that you have to write the book, you have to proof the book, you have to edit the book, you have to do all of the things, you have to get the book designed or design a cover yourself, you have to make sure the book, if you're going to if it's going to be a really beautiful book, it's got to be set up in a particular way so that you can either send the manuscript to a printer and get them to print it, or alternatively, you can actually send it to somewhere like, for example, Amazon or one of the other online publishers. And Amazon will actually print your book on demand. They charge a certain amount of money for doing that. But what it means is that you don't have the massive upfront cost of needing to print 2,000 books if you think that your book is going to be a big seller. You know, it's very difficult to guess and to gauge just how well a book will sell. But that's why I quite like print on demand. It's a bit more expensive, but I think it just takes the risk out of the equation. So do by all means look at that. And then, of course, we come on to ebooks. There are various platforms you can choose. Obviously, you know, Amazon, you can choose, or Books Direct. There are all sorts of different ebook platforms. And you can, you know, have a little mooch around those and see which you prefer. I put the ebook of Survivor's Guide, so it's over there, that's why I'm looking at it, Survivor's Guide to Swine Flu, the Complementary Medical Approach. I rejigged that book and put it, and actually I had, it's tricky. If you've got a manuscript that's written, it's very tricky to turn that into the right format for ebooks. And I touched on that in the ebook tutorial I did for you. So I actually paid a lady on Upwork to take the manuscript in the InDesign format, which is how the book had been created. And then she put it into, painstakingly changed all the formatting and put it into the format required for ebooks. For example, you can't have beautifully offset pictures and text flowing around it like you might have on the printed page. In ebooks, if you've got a graphic, it has to be in line. It's always going to be centered on the page. There's no text flow or anything artistic about ebook layout, which is really annoying, but you know, that's just the way. Of course, they're setting them up for Kindles and e-readers and various other things. So that's just the way that it works. So you don't need to get fancy. And if you're starting out creating an ebook from the get-go, please remember that you can't just create a PDF and then upload that as an ebook. It just doesn't work because the formats are so different for different e-readers. People look at things on their Kindles, they look at them on their iPads. All of those formats are different. So you'll have bits hanging off the page and bits missing and so on. So please don't think that that's a shortcut to doing anything. Putting ebooks on your website is a different matter, and you can supply ebooks that way. And we're going to come on to that right at the end when I talk to you about lead magnets, because that's a different kettle of fish. But so right now, at the moment, we're just talking about regular ebooks on Amazon. You can, on Amazon, for example, and the other platforms, you can actually download the formatting templates. So they do make it easy for you, because obviously it's in their interest to support you. And they do actually have all sorts of interesting funds to support writers as well. So you can apply for grants and funding and all sorts of support from Amazon, surprisingly enough. So it's worth looking into that as well. So starting small is always the best way to go. Most importantly, don't overwork and don't overthink things. Starting out writing, you've got to set yourself a target. So, for example, Roald Dahl, very topical because a film is coming out about him in due course, actually. And he used to write 2,000 words a day in his shed with a blanket over his knees, and that was it, day in, day out. But for the purposes of this discussion, even 300 words a day is fine. But it's good to set yourself a framework so that you're not going to be terrible. You know, you're not going to sort of suddenly outdo yourself one day and then the next day go into this slump because you think, oh God, yesterday I wrote 10,000 words and it just flowed. The muse was with me. And then the next day you're looking at a blank screen and going, oh my God, I have no idea. My brain's gone. And so, you know, this is why if you set yourself a word count target, that is good. you can write your 300 words by all means, or whatever it is. It's got to work for you. So I'm not saying that's what you've got to do, 300 words. What I'm saying is that it would be super if you can set yourself a target, 500 words, 1,000 words, whatever works for you around your busy day, and that's what you aim to stick to. Now, if you find that your juices are flowing, then don't try to write more, but actually plan more. That's a really, really good trick. That's what you've got to think about doing. Okay, so John Grisham, for example, he began his career as a lawyer. He made a point of getting up early every morning and wrote just one page. And it stood him in really good stead. You can do the same. It really does help to have a time, schedule everything in, and make time. If you're passionate about this project, make time to do it. Okay, have an outline. It's very important to actually have a, let me just admit Angie, there we go, it just popped up on my screen. Have an outline. So write up a table of contents. I find that this is absolutely invaluable because it gives me a framework. Write a table of contents to guide you. Think about the topics that you want to cover, and then these can become chapters. Then break up each chapter into a few sections. Think of your book in the terms of having a beginning, a middle, and an end. So the beginning is you set the scene. The middle is how you are going to help the person to do whatever it is that they want to know what to do. For example, if that's the kind of topic, if your book is a how-to book. And then the end is where you wrap everything up and give the person any extra hints or tips or where to go next, or any information that they might need to know about you, how to make an appointment with you, how to find your website, all of those sorts of things. So it's a sandwich. Think of a book as a sandwich in that sort of way. Now, I find having a table of contents is so invaluable. And also, I don't write in a linear fashion. I do not write the beginning, the middle, and the end and go chapter, next chapter, next chapter. I do the easy bits first, because what that does is it encourages you. So if you think, oh gosh, yes, I've got a chapter coming up on juicing, for example, silly example. I've got a chapter coming up on juicing and I'm really excited about it. And oh right, so I'm going to start with that chapter. That's fine, because you'll achieve, and what that does is it gives you a great big dopamine rush, and it means that you've set yourself a target, so you're oozing dopamine, and then you actually achieve that target. You're oozing even more dopamine, serotonin, and of course oxytocin. So we can harness and hack our neurotransmitters to actually enable the creative process to be even easier. So that is a really, really good little tip for you. Write the things that you want to write first, and my goodness, the whole process becomes so much easier. Wired for Story. We spoke about this, I think it was last week actually, that book Wired for Story. Lisa Cron, Dr. Lisa Cron, she's a neurobiologist, a neuroscientist who has hacked the way that our brains react to story. Even if you're writing a non-fiction book, we're still storytellers. We've still got something to say. So we still have to hook our audience right from the very, very beginning. So for example, the words that I hear, the comments I get about Rewind Your Body Clock is that I couldn't put it down. I keep diving into it. I read it through, and now I'm actually, I read it from cover to cover. Now I'm going in and doing it step by step by step, so I can get the day set up and do the various things that I want to do that I've taken out of the book. So, the point is, it's a very sticky book. It's very Moorish. And I sort of lead the reader from one topic into the next topic, and they know why they're there. They know there's a rationale for actually being at that point in the book and what comes next. And I'm hinting at what comes next, and I'm linking back to what's gone before and what they've read previously. So it all hangs together really, really well. If you want to look at a brilliant structure which will completely inform your book writing, take a look at the comedian James Acaster. if you've got, in fact, it's on YouTube. A lot of his stuff is on YouTube. But if also on Netflix at the moment, if you have Netflix, for example, you've got some of his stand-up, and he's got a little series of 4, I think it's 3 or 4 stand-up shows. James Acaster is, I hadn't realized, I knew he was clever, but it wasn't until I sat and analyzed what he was doing, because you see, he sort of goes on and off on a topic, and then he kind of goes off on a tangent, then he goes off on another tangent, and he then links back that first topic and links it into that second tangent. And the structure of what he's doing as a comedian is mind-blowing. It is so clever. And I'm not saying that we need to be that clever when we're writing, but the point is to have an overview of the way that you want to lead your reader is very, very helpful, because that's going to make your book really sticky and really kind of Moorish, and as they call it in the trade, a page turner. And if you can do that, then you're really, really getting there. Okay, so anything more complicated than the sort of the sandwich structure, though, as I say, having a beginning, a middle, and an end, may potentially run the risk of people getting lost. So that's why I link my chapters very, very gently and very, very carefully, so that the reader never feels overwhelmed or lost. And if you need help with structure, read Do the Work by Stephen Pressfield. It's an absolutely outstanding piece. So we need to have a set schedule to work on your book. If you want to take a day or 2 off from writing per week, schedule that in your diary as time off. It's quite a healthy thing to do, actually, so bear with me, sorry. I've got my habitual oolong tea here, and oh my goodness, it is delicious, and it keeps my brain going. It's good to take time out. The problem with working on books is it's very easy to get burnt out on them, because it's hard work. You know, you're sitting. This is what people forget about writing books. You're sitting down such a lot. And that's the other reason I like to say to people, unless you're on a massive deadline, is to actually just schedule what you're going to do every day. It will help you to stay fresh if you have time out and not resentful. It can get very easy to become resentful towards your book, and we don't want that happening at all, do we? But also, it's quite good to set yourself deadlines to do things as well. Don't just let deadlines pass. There's an art to writing to a deadline, and it keeps you honest, as they say. It keeps you focused. So, for example, with my Natural Health magazine columns, I write for them every month, and I have been doing so for 11, 12 years now, month in, month out. And my deadline is absolutely set in tablets of stone as far as I'm concerned. It's all about being a professional writer, obviously, but if you set yourself deadlines, make sure they are, you know what they are, you know when they are, don't let them pass, okay? Because if you do, you'll get back into that resentment cycle. So it's very, very important. Don't let yourself off the hook. There's an art to choosing where to write. As I said earlier, Roald Dahl used to go down to his shed and put his blanket over his knees and start writing his, I believe it was 2,000 words a day. I've got a cup of coffee in the background there. Obviously, we're not allowed into coffee shops at the moment. But the point is that it's quite good to go to places like coffee shops. You need to be able to go somewhere that is different from where you do other activities. The idea is to make this a special place so that when you enter it, you're ready to work on your project. Let me just go back to that. Now, why coffee shops? Well, there's actually been research, and as you know, everything I tell you is based on research. I don't make it up as I go along. I do the research. Excuse me a second. Enjoying my cup of tea way too much. So the thing is that they discovered that if you go to a coffee shop, which post-lockdown we'll all be able to do, there's something odd about the type of noise in a coffee shop that actually it kind of helps you to drown out distractions, and it helps you focus. So it's a really strange thing about the sort of decibel levels in a coffee shop of all places. The other thing actually is, of course, you've got the smell of coffee, and we associate, even if we don't drink coffee, we associate the smell of coffee with being wide awake. So again, it helps us to focus, and it improves our cognitive function when we're working in coffee shops is dramatically improved. How about that? I actually mostly wrote Rewind Your Body Clock in Cafe Nero, which is 2 reasons. One, because it's easy to focus, and B, because it's so solitary. This is another problem when you're a writer. It's a very solitary pursuit because, you know, you're sitting there. It's just basically the screen, the blank screen, and you. When that happens, is you end up not seeing people. So I used to have to go to Cafe Nero to just go and have human company. Very sad. I need to get out more. We all need to get out more. Well, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. So even if obviously we, you know, lockdown at the moment, so we can't go out and do that right now. But if you can find yourself, even if you're stuck indoors, find yourself a particular place where you write, and it's different from where you do other activities. Very, very helpful. Very good productivity hack to do that. Keeping yourself accountable is so important. As I said earlier, having a set word count is going to really help you. When you're creating your book, think in terms of 10,000 word increments and break each chapter into roughly equal lengths. If you're writing a pamphlet, for example, or a small ebook, let's say as a lead magnet, look at about 10,000 words. 10,000, what does that look like? Okay, so 10,000 words. My Natural Health magazine is 1,000 word count. And that is 2 and a bit pages of A4 in Baskerville 11 font. And that is spaced at 1.15 line spacing. So 1,000 words is probably 2 pages, 2.5 pages, thereabouts. Okay, so that gives you a vague idea. And then obviously if you're creating an ebook or a pamphlet type of thing as a lead magnet that goes on your website, I'm going to tell you how to use that a little bit later. If you're doing that, then you can put lots of pictures in, so it may take your page count up. I really believe, for example, I mean, I'm going to show you something over here. Yeah, our fantastic, amazing Megan McArdle, who is the goddess of all things to do with IT and so on. We're creating a resilience course, terribly interesting. It's geared at practitioners. Megan has, let me show you some of her pages. So she's created a gorgeous table of contents, another table of contents, okay. And let's see what we've got. Yeah, for example, an article here. I don't know if I've got these around the right way, but if you can basically see them. So Megan has got lovely sort of copy there, beautiful pictures, more beautiful pictures, copy spaced around them. So you can see exactly how she's structured the layout. I supplied the words, and because we're so busy here, Megan created the layout. Now I know you don't all have a Megan, but what you can do is you can go to places like Creative Market, or even go onto Canva if you're familiar with Canva, and you can find layouts, pre sort of set up layouts for things like ebooks. You simply drop the words in and drop the pictures in, and lo and behold, you've got yourself a fabulous looking ebook. As I say, please don't confuse those with the ones that you upload to places like Amazon, because you can't do that. You know, you've got to have that just really boring basic structure on Amazon and other e-platforms. But for an ebook to act as a lead magnet to grow your mailing list, these are the sorts of really super creative things that you can do. So about 10,000 words, I believe that 10,000 words plus all pictures and so on, you're probably ending up with a good ebook of about 30 pages. And people don't go, oh, they've just put lots of pictures in and very few words. Not at all. People actually are enriched. Their experience is dramatically enriched by having pictures. It makes it easier to consume the material, and you're more likely to actually have somebody finish the book and actually learn from you, learn what you're telling them, if you can actually put beautiful graphics in and so on. Okay, so don't think that it's a bad thing to do, to put lots of pictures. 20,000 words is a short ebook or print book. Again, I've got slightly sort of different thoughts about that. I think you can get away with 10,000 words for an ebook for the sort of purposes we're talking about with lead magnets. 40 to 50,000 words is a good sized non-fiction book. To give you an example, 50,000 words looks like this. So we've got rewind here. So that, if you can see, that is 50,000 with lots and lots of beautiful graphics in it. So there we go. So that's what that looks like, if that gives you some ideas. Okay. Right. Okay. Then we've got 60 to 70,000 words, a longer non-fiction book, so a bit more of a textbook type of thing. 80 to 100,000 words is typical novel length. And then if you're doing a dissertation, you're talking about 400,000 words. That's what I did for my MSc dissertation, which looked at practice growth and development, thriving personally and professionally in practice. And I'm hoping to do that same, build on that topic for my doctorate. And, that's going to be even longer than 400,000 words. So I've got that to look forward to. Now, give yourself weekly deadlines. It can be a word count, a percentage of progress, or whatever it is. Just have something to aim for, and ideally somebody who will hold you accountable. That can be a friend, a writing buddy, and join a writing group on Facebook, for example. It's a fantastically good thing to do. And importantly with your work, get early feedback. Nothing hurts worse than writing a whole book and then having to rewrite it because you didn't let anybody look at it. Have a few trusted advisors to help you discern what's worth writing. Now, my advice to you is not to make your trusted advisors your mum or your auntie or your granny or anybody like that who loves you to bits, because they're going to say, oh, that's lovely, dear, whether it's good or not, because they just think you're fabulous, and you are, obviously. But get somebody who maybe can look at things very objectively. So again, partners, not really very good. So no, it's got to be somebody slightly out, maybe even somebody in a writing group. That's a really good thing to do. Avoiding burnout is crucial. Only write one chapter at a time. Write and publish a novel one chapter at a time using Amazon Kindle singles, Wattpad, or sharing with your emailing list subscribers. Now, this is really interesting because you can build fantastic engagement. A lot of writers do this. E.L. James, for example, writing 50 Shades of Grey, she started off writing fan fiction. And fan fiction happens on fan fiction websites. And so I think it was Twilight fan fiction that she was writing. Remember the Twilight films, the Twilight saga? And it's all the vampires and the werewolves and the this and the that and the other. Anyway, she realized that there was a framework there of this kind of romance story, but with some darker stuff going on, and she obviously seeked that into the kind of BDSM kink type of topic that she created in 50 Shades of Grey and the other two books, and so but what she did was that she would write a little bit in this Twilight group, and then people would give her feedback and say, oh, we love this bit, oh, can you develop this character a bit more, and can you do this, and so on and so forth. Now, this model works really well if you're writing fiction, but it does also work in non-fiction as well. So again, even joining a writers group, whether it's actually an online one, or eventually when we're all allowed out and hopefully doing a real world, a real world writers group, or even a writers retreat, would just be magical to do. Maybe that's something we should all think about doing when we've all got our books organized. In fact, Roberta and I, we've been speaking to somebody who has the most magnificent retreat in France, and we've been wanting to do retreats anyway. So at some point, if you're interested and you want to do writing, we could always do a writers retreat in France when we're all allowed out. We've got to keep thinking positively, haven't we? So, oh, come on then, writer, come on, mouse, stop misbehaving. So you can write a shorter book by all means. the idea of writing your 500-page magnum opus can be absolutely paralyzing, and you won't do anything. You'll just get stuck. Instead, write a short book of poems or stories or case studies and what you've learned from your patients, insights, wisdom you've acquired over the years. Start with something doable, and then eventually you can write your magnum opus, obviously. But make something that you can get your head around and is going to be straightforward and easy for you to begin with. That would be a really sensible way of getting all of this started. Okay. What about just creating an ebook to begin with? Long projects, as I say, are very, very daunting. If you're sensible, you'll start small. Now, another way of doing things is to start a blog to get feedback. Getting feedback early and often helps break up the overwhelm. And you also feel as though you've got people kind of in your corner cheering you on, which is always good. Starting a website on WordPress, for example, and using it to write your book or chapter a scene at a time is also really, really helpful. So yeah, you can look at doing that. And there are so many different opportunities and platforms out there. So just have a little look, because we're all different, and something that appeals to me, for example, might really not appeal to you. And it's daunting to put your work out there, which is why I do suggest a writers group, because you're all kind of in the same boat and you're all sort of sympathizing with just how bloody hard it is. So that you will get peer support, which is incredibly important. So, for example, one of the things you can do is if you do write a blog, you can eventually publish all the blog posts in a hard copy book. Designer, Designrr, I believe. I believe it's Designrr. I don't think there's an ERR. They're a software platform where you are able to upload your blog or even your Facebook posts if you're good at keeping your Facebook page really on topic with your work and you're publishing useful information. You can turn all of that into ebooks, and then you can upload it to your website, or even you can sell them. And Designer actually do have the formatting for creating ebooks that you can put up onto places like Amazon and so on. So they are worth checking out. And they always have offers on, so you'll get some really good deal with the sort of things that they offer. Staying creative is incredibly important to the process. Keep an inspiration list. It's very, very important. I literally do have a writing pad in my back pocket or my handbag or whatever it is that I'm walking around with, and a pen, obviously. I like to write things down because, you see, the problem is when you put them in your phone, you then have to go and find them. They're not actually there in front of you. Whereas if you've got a little notepad, you can literally sit and flip through it and you'll actually see the ideas. So it does make life a lot easier for you. There are some online things that you can do. We'll come on to those in a second. You need an inspiration list to keep your ideas fresh and flowing. Read constantly and use a system to capture and organize and find the content that you've created. As I say, literally old school styly is pen and pad, which works. I also use a program called Evernote, but use a system that works for you. Evernote is great. So, for example, if you find something online, you think, good grief, that is exactly what I needed to know to write this next particular book or this next course or whatever. You can actually capture that web page and then you can put it into a repository on Evernote and you can tag it so that you can, for example, one recently I did yesterday, resilience training and happiness and mindfulness. So all the tags that I put, so that when I go back into Evernote, I can just look at the various tags and think, oh yeah, now I need to write something about mindfulness, and I'll go into Evernote and up will pop all of the web pages with all of those resources that I found that I thought, oh yeah, I really need to remember this. I don't know about you, but I always tend to end up with a lot of tabs open thinking, oh, I need to come back to that page later. I need to go. And I suddenly think, no, I've got Evernote. I have a paid version and it's very inexpensive, but my goodness, it's worth its weight in gold. Keep a journal, then rewrite the entries in a much more polished book format, but use some photocopies or scans of the journal pages as illustrations in your book. So this makes things really real for people. Okay, so if you're good at journaling and you're quite artistic about it, just remember that some of those pages you could actually, you could copy or scan it, you could put it into the book. And, people love to see this because it's your real world process. It shows that your thoughts about things, and it makes things very tangible for people. You could even sell, for example, deluxe editions that come with the actual artwork, scanned versions of the journal, or, sort of additional bits and pieces of artwork and so on that are available to people that maybe buy an upgraded version of what you're offering. So there you can get really creative with this sort of thing, particularly if you're a good journaler. I'm not, but if you are, then that's time well spent. Deliver consistently. Some days it's very easy to write, some days it's incredibly hard. The truth is, inspiration is merely a byproduct of your hard work. You can't wait for inspiration. Your muse is really actually pretty lazy. She won't move until you do. Show her who's boss and that you mean business. So don't please lie around on your couch peeling grapes, or having your minion peel grapes for you and wait for the muse to strike. You've got to go out there and actually do the work. Stay focused, take frequent breaks. Neil Fiore, the author of The Now Habit, says there is one main reason why we procrastinate. It rewards us with temporary relief from stress. It's brilliant, isn't it? And it's so, so true. If you're constantly stressed about your unfinished book, you'll end up breaking your schedule. Instead, plan for breaks ahead of time so that you stay fresh. Minute breaks, hour breaks, or even multiple day breaks. All of the great authors took walking breaks. Shakespeare did, Rambo did, Dickens did, literally anybody who's anybody. They get up from their desk or their computer or wherever they are, and they get out for a 20-minute break. It's the strangest thing. Einstein did this. The greatest thinkers all take these breaks. This is one of the best strategies, the Pomodoro strategy. You work for 25 minutes, and the reason it's called Pomodoro is because the guy that came up with the concept and popularized it used a tomato-shaped timer. And he's an Italian guy, so it's called the Pomodoro. And anyway, you set it for 25 minutes and it ticks away. And it will tell you, it buzzes when your 25 minutes is up. You get away from your screen or whatever you're working on. You go and do some walking or do some exercise or whatever it is, but you change state. You can then come back 5 minutes later and you can then set your timer again. And it increases your productivity like you would not believe, because you subconsciously end up racing against time. You get so much more done, and I swear by it. Okay, remove distractions. Try tools like onwriter.com. It's gorgeous. OnWriter is a beautiful writer's platform, and it just gives you this kind of like Zen-like atmosphere that just dramatically increases your productivity. There's a very good app called Byword app. There's Full Focus that I use for writing, and then Scrivener, which always used to just be available for Macs, but I think it's now available for PCs as well. They let you write in a totally distraction-free environment. I also have other apps on my computers that enable me to switch off all distractions, social media or what have you, and they won't even let me go online for a certain amount of time. You can set the amount of time, and it just essentially locks you into your screen to write, and you can't do anything else. You can undo it if you really need to in an emergency, but it's a good practice. This way, email, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter won't interrupt your flow. As I said earlier, write where others are writing or working. If you're having trouble writing consistently by yourself, write where other people are, who, if they're also working. Obviously, right now, that's not great advice, but it is for the future, obviously. Redundant at the moment, of course, as I said, but post-lockdown, a coffee shop or library where people are actually doing work, not just socializing, dramatically increases your productivity. If you're in a place where other people are getting things done, then you'll have no choice but to join them. Don't fiddle faff or edit as you go. This is top tip. Instead, write without judgment first and then go back and edit later. You'll keep a better flow and you won't be interrupted by constant criticism of your own work. We are our own worst critics. So just write. Next chapter, write. Then once you've written several chapters, by all means, then go back and look and start editing. The danger is if you start editing prematurely, you'll end up just doing a little bit of writing, a lot of editing, and not be any further with your book. So I personally prefer to just write and then pull it apart. Okay. you'll have a lot more writing to edit when it's actually time to do so. So stay motivated. What do I mean by that? Get your book out, ship it. Just get it out, get it away, ship it. No matter what, finish the book, send it to the publisher, release it on Amazon, do whatever you need to do to get it out in front of people. Don't just put it in your drawer. Embrace failure. Failure will happen, inevitably. Know that this will be hard and that you will mess up. Be okay with it. Give yourself grace. You know, those scrunched up pieces of paper might as well also be, you know, deleted pages off your computer or deleted paragraphs. You know, things happen, and you know, you can look at your writing one day and just think, oh my goodness, this is just not on par. It's just not up to scratch. It's not, you know, it's not doing what I want it to do. That's fine. It happens. Move on. Okay. Embracing, giving yourself grace is what will sustain you, not your high standards of perfection. Write another book. So once you've done one, get back on that horse and write another one. Be strong and never give up. Most authors are embarrassed by their first book, but without that first, they never would have learned the lessons that they now know. So put your book out there, fail early and try again. It's the only way that you're going to get really good. You practice. So now let's talk about building the platform. You must get the ball rolling first by building a fan base. Build your list. So what do I mean by that? We touched on it earlier, and I think that we covered this in the ebook tutorial that I did back last November. Okay, so building a list is very, very important. One of the ways that we build a list is by creating lead magnets. Lead magnets are things that you put on your website as giveaways. And so, you know, what you've got to do is to look at the sort of topics that really interest your ideal target market. If you don't know who your ideal target market is, you need to do your avatar work. And that is in a really, really helpful video over on the Complementary Medical Association YouTube channel. It's called Building Your Avatar, Finding Your Ideal Client. So go and take a look at that. If you've not done that one yet, you must do it, because quite honestly, there's no, you can't grow your practice if you don't know who you're actually marketing to. You've got to know who your ideal client is in order to be able to shape your marketing language and your message, and to create emotion in your potential target audience. And also, let's face it, you know, if you don't know who your audience is, then you don't stand a chance of writing a book that's going to appeal to them. So this is why I want you to go back and do your avatar work, and also do your niche creation work as well. Again, there's another really good video on that on the CMA YouTube channel. It's all there for free. If you're not using it, you're missing a trick. Okay. Email is best to grow a list. So what I want you to do is to you give away your ebook or a meditation or whatever it is that you're giving away on your website in exchange for somebody's email address. So somebody has to put their email address into the little form on your website. These are really easy things to add in. If you're not so au fait, just get a webmaster. The CMA web guy that we really like is Mark Spooner. And we can give you Mark's details, of course. He could always put a little sign up form for you on your website. Ever so easy. If you've built your own website from Wix or Weebly or something like that, they actually have those on there. So no excuses. It's really easy to get people to sign up for your list. Old school direct mail is also worth looking at. We're going very old school in many ways with the CMA because we now send these gorgeous membership packages out, as you know, and you know, they are just, people love them. You know, they've got all those goodies in them, and beautiful gift boxes with the certificate and the pen and the lapel badge and the keyring and the writing pad and the new brochure and the new branding and all sorts of other exciting things. And of course, the information about the new bespoke videos that we're making for CMA members. I covered that yesterday in my live session in the Jayney Goddard Masterclasses Facebook group. Very soon, you'll find, in fact, actually next week's newsletter, you'll find us writing to you and telling you about this new amazing thing that we're doing for our members, which is creating bespoke videos for you so that you can use them to actually really promote your practice. It's really exciting, loads to it, so I'm not going to go into it too much today. So as I said, creating giveaways, also known as lead magnets. Ebooks are ideal. How-to guides. Again, if you know who you're marketing to, who your ideal client is, and who you would love to be working with, do that avatar work, and then that will help you to understand the sort of information that they would love and really cherish and really value. Okay, downloads of any kind are really helpful, but as I say, they must be high value items. What I mean by that is they don't have to have a price point. These are not things that we're selling at the moment. These are just lead magnets for your website. But this is what grows your audience. And this is what we do. We have to grow the audience so that when you've got a book to actually get out there, if you've got a great big audience, either by email or on the social media platforms, you can then market to that audience and you will get yourself a bestseller. Because if you've got a book out there that you suddenly let everybody know about, and you might even, if you put an ebook out, for example, you might even set the price at an introductory special discount price, you will get the trajectory and the volume of sales and the speed of sales that will push your book to the #1 slot. It's volume and trajectory. So they need a lot of sales and they need them fast. And if that's what happens, you will be there at that cherished #1 slot. Okay, so that it's not rocket science. It's very, very straightforward. So when I say, sorry, going back to high value items, high value means these are valuable to your person, your client, your ideal client. Okay, this is something they're going to actually really cherish from you. So give it a lot of thought. The pre-launch phase, get your street team set up. So if you've got a book that you've created, and I'm not talking about little giveaways now, I'm talking about actual books, whether it's an ebook or whether it's a real world book, what you want to do is to get as many people, your raving fans, the people on your email list and so on, get them set up as your street team, which means that you're going to give them flyers that they can email out to their friends and family, or when we're out of lockdown, that they can actually literally, you can print up flyers for next to nothing, that they can go out and they can give to people and so on, literally in cafes and so on, put posters up for you. And so the more people out there you have, so much the better. So that's why it's called a street team, but it can be done online, of course, as you'll appreciate. Make friends with journalists in your sector. Very, very important. And also influencers in your sector. You do have to schmooze them. And that is very, very important. And so, yes, I mean, if you can make friends with journalists and send them useful information, don't waste their time. If you waste a journalist's time, you will never get your foot over their threshold again. You've got to find out what that journalist writes about, and obviously you only want to spend time schmoozing the journalists that are in your arena, the health arena. They've got to be health writers and so on, but you've got to help them. If you have got information that could help them to write a fantastic article, that's great. Never approach a journalist or a health writer saying, "Oh, I'm an aromatherapist and this is what I do. Can you write about me?" Well, no, they're not going to. Why should they? You haven't given them a story. You've got to give them something that's really wow, that's newsworthy. I had somebody contact me the other day saying, "Oh, I've got some information about this particular complementary medical discipline." If you remember, a few weeks ago, we did the scientific research in complementary medicine interview where we had Dr. Frank Sabatino, the CMA's scientific advisor. And I had somebody contact me saying, "Oh, I've got this discipline and we've got research in the field." But the problem was the only research they had, she was saying, "Is this any good?" And I said, "Well, it's very difficult because all she could send me were abstracts and they were in a foreign language. And my schoolgirl French wasn't good enough to be able to even understand it. So I'm not going to run the risk of mistranslating something and talking about it." They need to obviously do the work before they approach me as an influencer and journalist in order to actually make me interested in actually doing something, because I'm so busy. So please appreciate that people are unbelievably busy. You've got to make their life easy for them. Attack social media like nobody's business. If you've got your book coming out, you've got to post about it, okay? Get the buzz going. And finally, speaking whenever, wherever. Get yourself there. There are loads of CMA members who have podcasts. Amanda Joy Harrison. We've got loads. We've got, I'm trying to think. Oh, Gina has one. We've got loads actually. So you know, just put it out if on things like the Complementary Medical Association Facebook group. If you can put a post in there if you want to be a guest on somebody's show, as long as you've got a story to tell, then you know that's a great way of building your audience. So you know, take advantage of that. This is what we've got all these things for. Finally, action changes things. If you've sat through this so far, and it's been some time, just over an hour that I've been giving you all of this valuable information. If you've just enjoyed it, that's fine, and you're not going to do anything about it, that's fine as well. But if you actually want to be successful, I have just given you the recipe for success. If you do these things and you work through this presentation, which you are more than welcome to download, if you're going to work through it like a workbook, you will be successful. No ifs, buts, and maybes. This is how it works. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. As you know, I've got lots of different places that you can work with me. I'm going to come on to the questions in just a second, because I'm sure there will be quite a few questions. Join me at Jayney Goddard Masterclasses if you're not in there already. And that's all about growing your practice. And of course, writing is also part of growing your practice. Join the Complementary Medical Association Facebook page and private members group. These are all free, of course. At the Complementary Medical Association and Jayney Goddard YouTube channels, you must subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell icon to the side of the channel so you never miss out on important updates. It's crucial that you join those channels if you haven't done so already, because they will really, really help you grow. My email address, janie@the-cma.org.uk, admin office, admin@the-cma.org.uk, and of course the CMA website, thecma.org.uk. Please let me know if you would like me to take a deeper dive into growing your platform, because I know that Roberta has got some fantastic insight about getting speaking engagements with places, including really influential places, including things like the Women's Institute and such like. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I know that we've got questions. Hello, my lovelies. I'm just going to pin that video there. Okay, right. So what I want to do is just go to the chat. Oh, cool. We've got loads of chat. And before I go any further, just bear with me a tick. Right. Okay. I've got some questions that I want to address that a couple of people wrote in. So let me have a sip first of all. That has gone cold, but it's still good. Okay, so Angie wrote in and said, hi Jayney, thank you for this opportunity to ask questions and find out more. I have self-published a B Oracle deck, which was an exciting project, but I lost pounds as the printer went bankrupt. Oh, that's horrendous. I'm so sorry to hear that. I teach specialist subjects and they are hands-on, so I'm wondering where I sit with my integrity, putting my work out that people will use. First rule for me is to do no harm, so would love some discussion around this. I have 2 CPD courses, shamanic womb massage and womb healing with tuning forks. Again, there is huge demand to work with me, but I can't run courses during lockdown, so course books, how to turn course books into something more general, and then which path to take to publish. Amazon seems popular, but I have resistance. Prefer to learn more about like-minded people. If you have that to share, it would be wonderful. Right, okay, so that's from Angie. Right, so sitting in your integrity is all very, very well and very important. Of course it is, absolutely. But the point also is that if you don't get your work out there, you're not helping people, are you? So that's what you've got to remember. If you want your work to get out there further, you've got to use the platforms with the furthest reach. So yes, we've all got issues with Amazon, of course, but you know, all businesses, if they're big businesses, are much for muchness. You could go to a really niche, holistic publisher, but have they really got the media contacts you need? Have they really got the ability and the budget to actually push your book out there in the way that it needs to be out there if your book is going to make a difference in the world. You can navel gaze and you can sit around, and I'm giving you tough love right now, and this is for all of you. You can sit and navel gaze, or you can decide that you're going to get your book out there. And by doing good work in the world, that karmic, if you don't mind me speaking in terms of karmic issues, the karma of utilizing a platform that we don't particularly like is offset by the good work that we put out into the world. So that's thing one. The second thing is, if you're putting an ebook up on Amazon or Goodreads or anything like that, then it's just there on Amazon. You haven't got people picking and packing and working in the warehouses and having to deliver it. So again, that's another way of easing that part of the equation. Obviously, we've still got issues with things like tax and all of that stuff that we all know about. I'm not going to go into it right now because that's just not the topic of what we're talking about today. So yes, put yourself out there. I think if you've got a story to tell, if you've got things, as I said right at the beginning of the presentation, if you've got things to tell, write, become a writer. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way of getting your love and your work and your blessings out into the world. I feel you should. Okay, this one from Jane says, hi Jayney, one question which I'm sure will be covered in the webinar. How is the best way to publish a book, ebook or hard copy? And if hard copy, are there any suggestions for publishers who are reasonably priced? I've written several ebooks for sale on Kindle, but I have stopped dead in my tracks when I investigated publishers for hard copy versions due to the extortionate cost. I'm sure many have had the same issue. That's from Jane. Yes, so absolutely. As I said earlier, yes, extortionate cost. But as I covered earlier, you've got the situation whereby you can actually do print on demand. You don't have to do it. Oops, where have you gone? I've now lost you. Right, let me get out of there. Let me find you again. There we are. Right. Okay. So I lost you all for a moment there. So the thing is that, if you do print on demand, you're then not having to shell out lots and lots and lots of money for inventory. Now, there are things like Hay House where they have writers' courses, which are really expensive. I've no doubt, I'm sure they are brilliant. And they tell you how to grow a platform and so on and so forth. But the thing is that they then have these various tiers and they will help you to create a book. And they start with just basically, we'll put you can write a book and we'll put you on our list. But the point is, it's very much you pays your money and you get your chances, So it's the more money you pay, the more input they have in your book, and they will help you with edit, with design and things like that. But in order to actually get a profile on the Hay House platform, you've got to spend a lot of money with them. They've got, say, Bill, I'm trying to think, it's not Bilbao, it's Balboa Press. I always have to remember Rocky Balboa. Balboa Press is connected to Hay House. And if anybody has written anything with them, just let me know in the notes. And I'd love to know your experience. But the problem is you make an inquiry with them and then they hound you to actually come on board with them. And in order to write a book with Balboa Press, and it doesn't guarantee you getting picked up by Hay House as an author, we're really talking about £8,000. And believe you me, you do not need to spend that money. Truly, you do not. If you harness the grassroots stuff that I've been talking about today, and I kind of see out of the corner of my eye, people are quite interested in learning more about creating a platform. Then you can do this yourself. I've done it. I've done it time and time and time again. So learn from what I'm saying, and we can take it from there. And I'm always happy to help you. And we're always here for you, as you know. So, right, I'm going to look at the questions now. So, hello, everybody. Yes, please to platform growth. Yes, please to marketing. Yes, please, platform growth. Joe says, our lovely Joe Baker, who's the CMA's political advisor. Joe says, hi, all. I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. Joe had to go, but JC was taking notes. That's great. Hi, JC. Right, okay. Right. Okay, Andrew had to hop off the call. That's fine, Andrew. We know you're really super busy, buzzing here, there, and everywhere. Andrew's still seeing a lot of patients. He's doing sports and remedial massage. Right, okay. Oh, Catherine, hello, lovely Catherine. Catherine says there's an annual writers' conference held each year at Swanwick. Swanwick, I think is. I don't know if I've got that right. Swanwick or Swanwick, for 300 authors and would-be authors, Writers' Summer School, an amazing place. Oh, that sounds lovely. I'm biased as I've been there vice chair and committee member for 12 years. Also, check out SWWJ, the Society of Women Writers and Journalists, set up by suffragettes and still going. Oh my goodness, yes. In fact, Catherine, I remember that you let me know about that some time ago, and we still haven't actually been able to get our act together to get me on board with that, and I must do it. So can you please not let me off the hook with that, because I'm really, really interested. Oh, so Anna said, which Cafe Nero? The one in Hastings. Angie says, I love the idea of that. Angie, we've talked about so many different things. I don't know if it was the what Catherine was saying, or a writer's retreat or something like that. So let me know what it was you were thinking there. Jennifer says, if you write using Word or something neutral like that as your base file, is it easy to copy into Amazon, Wattpad, Canva, etc.? Is this what people typically do, so that you have a master file into put into whichever formats you decide to use? Actually, yes, Word is good, because happily, when you turn it into an ebook format, it will happily speak to Word. As I say, it doesn't speak to things like InDesign, and it doesn't speak to PDFs. So it's pretty good to try to stay in Word. Actually, it's pretty generic. So thank you, Jennifer. That's a fabulous question. Thank you so much. Catherine says Scrivener is a great writing tool without distraction, and it helps with ebook layouts. Thank you, Catherine. Yep, that's great. It's been a while since I've looked at Scrivener. I haven't used it, but Scrivener is a real writer's package. It lets you put little sticky notes to yourself at the side and jiggle around all your layouts, and it's terrific. It really is a fabulous platform. Mark Spooner's email address is mark@indigoinsight.me. Mark Spooner. He's the website guy. So if you need a sign up form put on your website, if you don't already have one, then jolly well go and get one. Michelle says that was really useful. Good. I'm glad, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you. Angie says, thank you. Off to Facebook to join up. Good. Excellent. I'm really pleased. That's wonderful. Okay, Kim says, thank you so much. Extremely grateful for all of this. Oh, thank you so much. That's lovely. Rob says platform building would be great. Thank you, Rob. Yes, Rita. Hello, my lovely Rita. Thank you for the talk. I published my book 2 years ago. I need to get it out there. Yeah, exactly. Now, an example of this, in fact, actually, I was talking to Frank last night, Dr. Sabatino last night, and we were just chatting, and he was saying, we were talking about Ellen Langer. Many of you will know that I've got the worst girl crush ever on Professor Ellen Langer. She's the one that did all that rewind study, and she's got a fantastic book called Counterclockwise, which is the name of these studies where she immersed those people into the 1970s environment. And I've covered it in Rewind Your Body Clock. But honestly, if I was at Harvard, and I do go to Harvard quite a lot, because I do the mind-body medicine trainings there with Dr. Herbert Benson at the Benson Henry Institute of Mind-Body Medicine. But I swear to goodness, if I ever saw Ellen Langer walking towards me at Harvard, I would probably just faint on the spot. I wouldn't be able to talk to her, because I'd just be like totally tongue-tied. It'd just be like, like meeting your idol. It's ridiculous. I'm that ridiculous. Okay, so I confess. But anyway, Ellen's book, Counterclockwise, is fabulous. It came out, I think it came out around 2012-ish, but she's still pushing that book. She's really, really aggressively marketing that book, and rightly so. So what I'm saying is, never, ever, ever give up. In fact, with Rewind Your Body Clock, I had a journalist contact me. She's a really high-profile vegan activist, actually, and journalist, and a radio presenter. And she contacted me. She said, it's ridiculous. She said, we never did do a program on the book. I said, no, we didn't. So we're going to do one. And I've still got, I'm still doing loads and loads of speaking engagements in the USA. the book launch was 2 years ago, or yes, it took, yeah, of course, last year didn't happen, did it? It was 2 years ago. And yeah, so, you know, I did a massive book launch there all over the USA. And then I'm still doing them. I'm still doing speaking engagements, you know, obviously online now. But I spoke to a bunch of Indian doctors, huge bunch of Indian doctors, homeopaths. And we were talking about the book, and we were talking about the CMA, and they were just going, oh, this is amazing. And so it just goes to show, you know, never ever think that your book is done and dusted. It's not, it's still there. Right, okay. Stephanie says, would love to learn more about platform building. Great. Jill, hello, Jill. Agree, platform building. Thank you again for your insights. You're so welcome, Jill. Tony said, this is brilliant. Yes, would like to hear about growing platforms. Sorry, I need to go. That's fine. I know I've kept you a long time. I'm sorry, everybody. Yes, I know, everybody. It's been a long session. These sessions, the thing is, they're so full of information. I just want to give you enough to be able to get going and do, you know, to make this practical, so you could literally work through this as a course. I probably should turn it into a course anyway, but that's a topic for another time. Sarah says, thank you for giving us your time today. I'm interested in collaborations and support from you. CMN, everyone happy to collab with me. Great. Accountability partnership, yes. Anything that helps grow my business will be highly appreciated. I'm also very interested in the new forthcoming offers or help with video that the CMA is working on. I'm interested in writing an ebook or printing on Amazon. So just so you know, secret squirrel, because we're properly announcing it on Wednesday in the newsletter. We're going to be making videos. I'm going to interview you. Okay, and we're going to make really fantastic videos that showcase your work. And then we're going to put them up on the CMA YouTube channel, and you'll be able to put them up onto your own channel. It highlights your relationship with the Complementary Medical Association. It really underpins and highlights the fact that you've got this massive commitment to excellence because you're a CMA member. But there's lots more to it. So you know, but I just wanted, because I know we're running over. But yeah, it's really super mega exciting. Sarah says, thank you so much for inspiring. Going to check out all the links. Excellent. Got to go. That's fine. That was our lovely Catherine. I know Catherine. Rob says, do you need specific ebook software programs to create ebooks? No, don't use PDFs, Rob. Don't. I've tried and it doesn't work. Unless you are making ebooks for your own website, then you can create a beautiful artistic ebook, much like the resilience training course one that I showed you earlier. But don't even think that you're going to be able to load that up onto Amazon or Goodreads or anything else like that. It will not work. Okay, you'll be upset and it'll waste a lot of your time. Yes, thank you, Mark at Indigo Insight. That's for right, that, yeah, okay, sorry, my messages are going. You're right, and keep writing messages, and they go up the screen. It's lovely. I love it. Right, okay. Susanna says, thank you so much for everything. It's just a seed while I'm setting up my new nutrition business and simultaneously moving to Ireland, subject to finding a house. Oh, good luck. Sarah says, here are my social media accounts. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, that's fab. Yeah, she's interested in collaborations. That's fantastic. And obviously that's all part and parcel of being a CMA member. You know, that's, you know, it's all about helping each other and supporting. You know, we support you as much as we possibly can in any way we can. That's what we're here for. Lovely. Okay, Jill says, thank you so much, Jayney. It's wonderful. Now I've got to write the book. Yes, Jill, my goodness, you really need to write a book. No ifs, buts, and maybes. She's laughing. Yes, Sarah says, is it possible to speak to me personally as I've got some personal questions? Of course. Absolutely. Drop me an email and we'll set up a time to talk. Absolutely no problem. We, you know, as I say, you know, Roberta's here and Roberta's in the group in here on her day off, I might add. Roberta, thank you so much for you know, obviously doing everything with the group as you have today. It's so kind of you.
My pleasure as always.
Oh, bless you, darling. Thank you. You're so kind. All right, my loves. Well, I want to let you go. I'm sorry I've kept you such a long time, but, you know, I think this is very, very valuable content. I hope you find it valuable content. Yeah, no, I think about it. I think maybe it ought to be a course because there's a lot of info, isn't there? So, and we could flesh out so much more. You know, we could spend hours and hours talking about this stuff. So I just want to thank you. I want to say, please keep shining your beautiful, brilliant lights into the world. Keep healing your world, because honestly, we need you all now more than ever, which is why you've got to get your brilliance out in the world, however you do it, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's your website. But please, please keep shining your light in the world and doing beautiful work. Thank you. Loved you all. Take care. Bye-bye.